Welcome back to the channel. Now we are going to see OOPS part 3. In this concept we are going to see regarding polymorphism. First of all, coming to the definition of polymorphism. Poly, the word poly means many. Morphy means forms. Means whatever the things we are representing, we can represent in a multiple ways. Means in many forms. For example, I am the person. I may behave in many ways in many places. For example, I am the person. I will behave as a teacher in front of the. I will act as a teacher in front of the students, and I will act as a co-faculty in front of all the faculty, and I will act as a son in front of my mother. Like that, based upon the location and based upon the things, the way of the representation is going to change. That is the thing. Same thing is going to represent in a multiple ways. In a polymorphism, we can perform two operations, like we can perform addition operation and as well as we can perform multiplication operation. So now let us see a few examples how polymorphism is going to work. Here we are going to see regarding the concept like dup taking philosophy for Python, overloading and overriding mechanism. In a dup typing philosophy of Python, here the what is the main thing is here we cannot specify the type explicitly. Means what is the type of the data you are defining. You are not going to define in a specially, means you are going to define in a default manner only. But the Python, what is the thing you are going to write here, the Python is going to consider the things as a dynamical manner. So let us see an example here. Here I have taken a program. Here I have taken a class name called duck. After that I am define talk of self. I am defining a self property. Name of the class property is name of the class is talk, and print quack quack I have written. In the same way, I have defined another class dog, and I have defined a talk of self, and I have written a print statement bow bow. In the same way, I have written a class called cat. In the same way, you can observe this example. I have written a class called duck, dog, cat, goat. I have written a 4 classes, and I am creating an object. The name of an object is f1. Define f1 of obj. Here obj is my object. In every class, if you observe, I have written an object. If I have defined a talk in a class dog, cat, goat, in every class I have defined a thing called talk. So I am defining an object called object dot talk. So in the line number 20, I have initializing all the things in a form of a set. So what are the classes I have defined is will be taken as a single set, like a class of dog, cat, goat. These three things will come in a single set. So for obj in I, for each and every object which is represented in I, in 20th line, whatever the things I have represented in classes like duck, cat, goat, whatever the things I have written, all the things are represented with I. So in I, whatever the indexing values, 0 is duck, 1 is cat, 2 is dog, 3 is goat. For each and every value will be called one by one. Each and every value is initialized to I. For object in I, for each and every object like duck, cat, dog, goat, for it is going to print whatever the print statement is written inside the particular class. So finally, I am going to get output called what is the thing we have written in that particular class, like quack quack, meow meow, bow bow, meow meow. So the next example is class duck. I have taken a class name called duck. Here I am initializing a self property. Here I have written a print statement called quack quack. In the same way, I have taken a class called dog. I have defined a object called bark, and I have written a self property. I have written bow bow, and I state next I have defined an object. Define f1 of object. I have taken an object, and I have written an object called talk. Object dot talk. Next d is equal to duck off. I have defined a property. I have defined here d is equal to duck off. Means what is the final output I am going to get in this particular class. D is equal to duck. Next I have defined a f1 function. So here in this particular program, I have defined a class called duck, and I have defined a class called dog. Everything I have done, everything I have defined. But here the output will be not defined in a complete manner. Why? Because here we have defined classes, but here we have not defined method called talk. So why? Because if you have not defined a method called talk, we are going to get an attribute error. So that is why I cannot able to get a complete output. It's a partially output. So to overcome that, we are going to define an method called talk method. So now let us see how to work with a talk method. So this is an example. In this example, you can observe in the line number 2, I have taken a method of talk. Next in line number 3, I have written one print statement, and the same way in fifth line, I have taken another class. In each and every class, if you observe, I have defined a talk method in a line number 6, and in the same way in line number 9, I have defined a class of dog, and in 10th line, I have defined a object called bark. In the same way, I have defined three classes called duck, home, and dog, and I have defined an object for whatever the attributes I have written. What is the attribute I have written here? Talk is an attribute. So if it has attribute of obj comma talk, for each and every object I have defined a talk method. So for every object I have defined talk method. So else if object called bark, if talk method is not works properly, we are going for the bark method. So finally, what is the output I am going to get is what are the things I have defined here. Based on that, the output will be defined. So here is called D is called duck, and I have called D value, and the same way H of human and D of dog. So what is the final output I am going to get out of all these means I am going to get meow meow meow. Next, overloading. You can use this operator in multiple ways. Overloading concept here, mainly we are going to use the plus operator. Plus operator is used for adding two different numerical values. Means the data should be in the same data type, like integer plus integer, like that. So you can see here print 10 plus 20. Automatically you are going to get output called 30. Why? Because both are integer values, and in the same way, you can see print Durga plus soft. You are going to get output called Durga soft. And you can use multiplication operation also for combining two elements. You can see print 10 into 20. What is the output of 10 into 20? 200. We are going to we are multiplying the values of 10 and 20. You are getting output called 200. And next, print Durga into 3. Means Durga, Durga, Durga. That same word will be repeated for 3 times. Why? Because I have written a term called numerical value 3. So, and you can use these particular terms in a place of deposit, check, cash, DD, and all this. So what are the types of overloading? The overloading is categorized into 3 types, like operator overloading, method overloading, and as well as constructor overloading. Now let us see each and every one with an examples. So here in the place of operator overloading, first one you can see here print 10 plus 20, I am going to get 30. By plus is an operator I have taken here. Next, print Durga plus soft, I am going to, it is going to just combine the two different strings, that's it. I am going to get output called Durga soft. On the same way, here operator is also used for combining elements, and it is going to multiply the different elements by using a multiplication operator. Now let us see a program how we are going to see. Look at this program. Here I am taking a class called book. I am define initialization of self comma pages. So based upon the whatever the thing I have initialized, I can write a value called self dot pages is equal pages. Next, b1 is equal book of 100. I am defining a b1 value, and as well as b2 is equal book of 200. Next, print of b1 plus b2. So here based upon the things, actually I have to get a value called 200 plus 100, 300. But in this particular case, I am not going to get output. I am going to get error value. Why? Because whatever the values here I have taken, the values are unsupported. I cannot add two strings. So that is why I am going to get error value. So to overcome the problem of adding the two strings here, I am going to use some other way for doing the program. Let us see how to add two different strings. The same program I am representing in another way for adding the two strings. In the same way, in a previous example, I have taken a class book, and I have initializing self comma pages, and I am writing a self dot pages is equal pages. Here define add of self comma other. Next, return self dot pages plus other dot pages. I means I am defining a two values, self and other. Next I am defining B1 is equal book of 100, B2 is equal book of 200. So next print the total number of pages in a book of B1 plus B2 means I am going to get 200 plus 100. I am going to get 300 value. So in the same way, how you have performed addition operation for this value, in the same way you can perform various operations like subtraction, multiplication, division, floor division, modulus, power, addition. Like this, you can perform a multiple number of operations. You can see all the operations what we can perform. So this is a program defining like a comparison operation, like a greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, not equal to operation. So let us see an example. Here I am taking a class called student and I am initializing a values called self comma name comma marks. So I am going to write a self comma name and self dot name is equal to name, self dot marks is equal to marks, and I am defining df gt underscore self comma other. Gt means return what is the thing I have written other, and I'm going to get that value. Return self dot marks is greater than other dot marks means I'm taking few people marks, based on the few marks, based on that I'm going to compare whether I have got greater marks or lesser marks. Next define gt means greater than. Let's define le less than self comma other. Return self dot marks is equal to other, less than or equal to other dot marks. So here I am defining few marks. Print 10 is greater than 20 is equal to 10 is greater than 20. So next, what are the things I told I have to initialize name comma marks. So here the name is Durga, marks are 100. And next I am initializing another value s2 and I am initializing name as Ravi, marks as 200. So here I am performing the various operations what I have told in the program, like you can see in a line number 6 and line number 8, like a grade s1. Here I have taken two values like s1 greater than s2, s1 less than s2, s1 greater than or equal to s2, s10 less than or equal to s2. Based like that, it is going to compare the operations and it is going to print true or false based upon the condition, like 10 is greater than 20, 10 is less than 20, 10 is equal to 20, like that, based upon the condition. Why it is taking 10 and 20 is I have given the marks called 10 and 20. Based on the input whatever we have given, it is going to perform the task. Next I have taken one more example. Here I have taken a class called employee. In an employee I am initializing a values called name and salary. Self dot name is equal to name, self dot salary is equal to salary. I have defined the things and defined multiplication. Mul of self comma other, self dot other is equal to other. Next class time sheet, define initial self comma name comma date, self dot name is equal to name, self dot days is equal to days. Means here the I'm counting as how much amount of salary the employee is going to get based upon his present days. Next E is equal to employee of Durga dot 500. E is equal to employee of Durga dot 500. Next E is equal to employee of, what are the name, what are the things I told I will give you here, name and salary. E is equal to employee of name is Durga, salary is 500. Next self the time sheet of name and days. T is equal to time sheet of what is the name of a person, Durga, how many days, 25. So now in a line number 15 I am going to calculate the salary of a person based upon the how many days they came in a month. Print this month salary is E into T. E into T means 500 into 25. 12,500 is the salary I am going to get. Next method, overloading. So if two methods are having the same name, but different arguments are going to perform, in such situation it is going to call as a method overloading concept. Here I have taken a m1. Here m1 I have defined an integer value, and in the same way in a m1 I have defined a double also. So in this particular case, overloading concept is not possible by using Python programming, but if we are trying to define multiple methods by the same name, so let us see how this particular method is work. Actually what happens is, what method is defined at the last, only that method will be called. That is simply we can say the thing. So let us see the program. Here I have taking a class called test. Here I have defined a m1. In a m1 I have written no argument, and I have defined again m1 of self comma a, I have defined one argument, and I have written m1 of self comma a comma b, I have written two argument. Next I have written t is equal t test, and I have called t dot m1. What is up there in m1? It is going to print. Next t dot m1, what it is there, it is going to print. Next t dot m1 of 10 comma 20. Why you have written 10 comma 20? 10 comma 20 are a and b values. So what is the print statement it is going to print here in this case? While seeing the definition itself, we saw that whatever the value is defined at the end, that particular value will be printed. What is the value is defined at the end? In the line number 12, it is defined like m1. So whatever the thing is written in m1 print statement, that statement will be printed. So the output is two argument, two arg method. So let us see another program. Here I have defined a class called test, and I have defined sum of self a is equal none, b is equal none, c is equal none. Defaultly I have defined a, b, c values as none. Now, third line, here I have written a case if a not equal to none, b not equal to none, c not equal to none. Means while in a program, if you given some random value for a, b, c like 6, 4, 2 like that, in such situation, what is the output you are going to get is in line number 4, print the sum of three numbers is a plus b plus c. So whatever the inputs you have given, based upon that, you are going to get sum of these three values. In the case like if you are not given a value and b value, means you have given only one value, right? Then you are going to get print the sum of two numbers is a plus b. Next, else if you are providing, if you are giving only one value, you are not giving b and c values, automatically it is going to ask please provide minimum two values. For performing any operation, we need minimum two values, right? So in the same way, so here I have written t is equal test of, means what is the thing is written in a test, it is going to call. Next t is equal sum of 10 comma 20, the output will be printed 30. Next t dot sum of 10 20 30, output will be printed 60. Next t is equal sum of 10, it is not going to print. Why? Because to add 10 cannot be added to any other value. Why? Because no other value is defined. So automatically it is going to get a message called give any two values or three values for performing the operation. Next, demo program with variable name arguments. So here I have taken a class called test. Next I have defined a sum called self into a, means here I have taken total value as 0 for x in a. For x in a, here total is equal to total plus x, means whatever the value I have taken at total, it is adding for an x value. Print the sum is total. I have taken a t is equal to test of. Next t dot sum of 10 comma 20, means it is going to perform operation 30. Next t dot sum of 10 20 30, it is going to perform. Next t dot sum of 10, here it is not going to perform operation. Why? Because 10 cannot be perform operation by its own, it needs a minimum two arguments or three arguments. So that is why it cannot perform the operation. Next, constructor overloading. In a concept of constructor overloading, it is not possible in Python. If you are calling multiple constructors with the same name, whatever the constructor you have called at the end, that particular constructor will be printed. So here I have defined a class called text. Next I am initializing value called initial self. I have written a no arguments constructor. Next I am initializing argument self comma a. I am printing one argument, and I am initializing self comma a comma b. Means here in this 8th line I am initializing two values a and b. So I am going to get output as two argument constructor. In a 10th line t1 is equal test of. In 11th line t1 is equal test of 10. Out here the operation will not be performed in line number 10 and line number 11. But operation can be performed in line number 12. Why? Because I have given two arguments for performing the operation, and in the definition we saw whatever the thing we have defined at the end, that particular value will be, whatever thing we have defined in the end, that particular value will be printed. What is an output here? Two argument constructor. Next, constructor with the default value. So here I have taken a test, and I have initializing a self comma a is equal to self comma a comma b comma c. So here I have defining a constructor value with 0 1 2 3 arguments. Here I have taken a test class. T2 is equal to test of 10, T3 is equal to test of 10 comma 20, T4 is equal to test of 10 comma 20 comma 30. Like that I have defined a few values So output constructor with 0, 1, 2, 3 number of arguments means whatever the arguments you have given, that particular T4 means the particular argument will be called for 4 times. So that is why the output has printed for 4 times. So in this particular case 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 50, 60. Here in this case if you observe, the output will be printed for 6 times. Why? Because I have given an argument called 60. Method overriding. In the case of method overriding, whatever the methods you are defining, the particular method will be defined in such a way that parent class and a child class, whatever the things are written in a parent class, the child class will take properties from the parent class and it will perform the task. So let us see the program. Here class P I have defined. In a class P I have defined a property of self. Next print I have defined gold plus land plus cash plus power. Next I have defined marry and self. I have defined a print value in the marry. I have defined a name called Appalamma. Next class C of P. I have defined a class. In the class I have defined a marry. In a marry I have written a print statement called Kumari. So here I have taken a object called C. Next in a object called C, here I have written C dot property. In a property, what is the thing we have defined in a class? I have defined property value. In a property, what is the print statement I have written? That print statement will be printed. Next, here I have defined a particular method 2 times. You can see the method called marry for 2 times. Whatever the method defined at the last, that method will be printed. In my example, I have defined a method in line number 4, one print statement. I have defined another method in line number 7, one print statement. So here, whatever the method defined at the end, that method will be printed. Here the final method is marry. In a marry method, I have defined Appalamma and Kumari. Finally, Kumari will be printed. You can see one more example here. I have defined a property. I have defined a class. In a class, I have defined a property, and I have defined a print value, gold, land, cash, power, and I have defined a marry called defined marry of self, and I have defined one name. And in the same way, I have defined marry of self. Next, here you can see before example and this example, the difference is in this first defined in a first marry object, whatever I have defined a name Aparna. In a second, I have defined a marry class, and here I have defined super. The super keyword means whatever the things we have defined in complete program, every value will be printed. If you not define super here, if you not define super value, the only gold, land, cash, power, and Kavita will be printed. But here you have defined super value. That is why here the all outputs as printed. Super dot marry means how many marry statements you have defined. All outputs will be printed. Super dot marry. So the final output is gold, land, cash, power, Aparna, Kavita. That is the output. Next year I have taken a constructor overriding example. One more example. I have taken two classes. Class P I have defined parent constructor, and I am taking another class child constructor. So here I have defined same method for 2 times. What is the final thing? Whatever the method which is defined at the end, that particular output will be printed. So that is why I got an output called child constructor. So here I have taken a program called class person. I am defining initializing name and age. Self dot name is equal name, self dot age is equal age. And I have taken an employee. In an employee I have taken person, and I am initializing self dot name is equal name, self dot age is equal age, self dot envo is equal envo, self dot salary is equal esal. I am defining a values like that. You can see from line number 13 to 16. So I have defined some values, but I have to give the values inside the particular data. So that is why I have taken an employee information like even. I have defined even is equal to employee of Durga 48. Employee number 87,000, 8,72,425, and salary is 26,000. In the same way, I have defined even dot display means whatever the things I have written for employee one, the employee one information should be displayed. And in the same way, I have taken another employee E2. In the same way, for employee E2, I have defined some values. I need E2 employee information to be displayed. So that is why I have written E2 dot display. So the same output you have got. So this is the somewhat object oriented concepts in Python programming. Thank you.